What you want to do is you want to make sure that the nodes themselves are rotating often. So Supra, we organize our nodes into a large committee with the whole entire network. We call it a tribe. And every epoch, we randomize the nodes into new, smaller committees, subcommittees, which we call clans. And every epoch is maybe on the order of every 36 hours or so. We actually perform a distributed key generation, key exchange ritual. Now that usually does take some time and some space on the blockchain to do this, but doing it once every day and a half is not a problem. Moreover, our team is developing a non-interactive distributed key generation procedure, which is actually, it's novel in that the amount of space on the blockchain itself is very, very little. I should mention that Supra has a backbone that is a consensus algorithm blockchain, and this is how we get the ability, we use it as a public key infrastructure in a way to organize our network topology, and also to publish the data on it. So since Supra itself does have, we do the distributed key generation ritual, and we sign our blocks with a threshold signature. That means that every block itself contains a bunch of Oracle data that is signed and finalized all at once. This actually gives us tremendous scale. Moreover, I kind of mentioned the network itself. We call it a tribe, and we have clans within the tribe. The nodes within those clans are randomized every epoch, but every cycle, let's say every 10 minutes, we also randomize the different clans to be responsible for different, for lack of a better term, commodity sharding. AKA clan number 1 is going to be responsible for assets like A to G. Clan number 2, H to X, Y, and Z. And every 10 minutes we change this, so it's always constantly changing. This constantly flowing architecture allows us to have this randomization as security in our network. Additionally, what's important to note is that the way that we assign clans to data sources is also powered through a verifiable random function. Threshold signatures themselves, the finalization, the quorum certificate on the blocks themselves can be a source of on-chain randomness to power our protocol forward. And as a consequence, we can we use this non-interactive verifiable random function to assign data sources or exchanges, for example, to each of the individual nodes. So maybe we have connected to 18 exchanges, but every node is only responsible to listen to 7 randomly assigned nodes, exchanges, excuse me. Now, what they do is they will actually aggregate responses for the data pair that they're tracking. They'll aggregate that, calculate the median from the responses, and then send that to the aggregators in the clan. There's more than one aggregator for redundancy and for better liveness guarantees. And those aggregators, what they have to do is form a coherent cluster, meaning they have to get 51% of the responses of that clan to form a coherent cluster, meaning the values have to be within a certain distance from each other. With the coherent cluster, you're able to actually calculate the mean, and then that is what we ultimately publish. This is very resilient to manipulation, Byzantine node behavior, as well as threshold of data sources themselves being Byzantine. You're not going to get that guarantee from other oracles, by the way. So this is a very secure model. We've had to think through many difficult things. In fact, I would argue that solving the oracle problem is more difficult than just traditional BFT. We have to build on top of it and be considerate of many other things. I hope that answers your question.
Hey, so my question is, I know there's always a lot of chatter about a multi-network, future. Do you see the same thing with oracles, where there being multiple oracles that were needed, or is this kind of a winner-takes-all thing?
Well, I mean, we really have one large dominant leader in the oracle space, right? And that's not going to stay the same. I mean, you can't have 50 layer 1s, layer 2s, all powered by a small cohort of nodes that are powering this oracle, right? In fact, I think what we're doing is necessary for the space to move forward. Otherwise, once again, your smart contracts are only as good as if you use oracles, is only as good as the data that you put into it. So the underlying, infrastructure, the guarantees of a layer 1 itself go out the window the moment you use oracles. This is why we basically apply layer 1 principles to the oracle problem. Do I think it's going to be, you're going to have different oracles for different ecosystems? What's interesting about Supra is we do all the work on our side, and we deliver the payload, the the threshold signature to prove that we've reached finality, as well as the Merkle proofs to the transaction inclusion proofs to show that the payload and the data within that block has been threshold signed and reached finality, which allows us to update quite a bit of information all at once. And since we do all that work on Supra's side, we can deliver that to other ecosystems. All we have to do is deploy our smart contract to those chains, and that smart contract, all it's doing is verifying our threshold signature that is correct. Now, that does mean that every epoch we do have to rotate the public keys, which means like the current public key or last epoch's public key signs off on the new epoch's public key, updates the smart contract, so the smart contract can continue to update and back and forth. So actually, Supra is positioning ourselves as a true middleware, servicing multiple ecosystems. And even us deploying on Base Layer 2, Coinbase's Layer 2, it's honestly only like a matter of 3 or 4 days if we put our heads down to do it. That's what's really nice about our solution. Whereas other oracles have to, their organizing principle is around the data itself. So they build a committee of nodes around that data. So if they're tracking ETH to USD, they have a smart contract on Ethereum, for example, for ETH USD. But then if they have ETH USD on, say, another EVM chain, they have to create another committee of nodes for that. You'll see that not only are the security guarantees different because the amount of nodes are different, the values that are produced are different. ETH USD on Ethereum is different than ETH USD on some other layer 2, for example. Whereas in Supra, it's just consistent across the board. Yeah. Any other questions? I finally just got comfortable, so. Okay. Oh, yeah, one more.
Hi, really cool presentation, loving the topic. So I was going to ask about the actual Oracle data sources. So does that mean that because you're acting as a middleware layer, I can't just plug in my own Oracle data sources? It's kind of like Supra also provides the catalog of allowable data sources that I can use on my app, right?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, you know, once again, Supra does have a blockchain as its backbone, so we can enable every single type of Oracle model. But the ones that we will promote and support the most, I mean, it will be permissionless, right? So anyone can do anything basically. But you have to be very careful, right? So we will have a data governance process that will allow new data sources to come into the system. That will be like officially Supra's data feeds. But once again, if someone wants to just apply their API and put it in there, they can. But I warn you that that's not a secure model. Anyone that can control the API controls your smart contract. Moreover, because of composability, if you control the API, you control the smart contract. And if a contract is composing with another contract that has ingested bad data, there can be cascading failures. So it's very important to never let bad data in the first place. Okay, one last question here.
So I was thinking, in terms of the other Oracle provider, are you going to have a token? Are you going to use your token in the ecosystem at some point? Like, what's the plan for this? Like, how can we also participate in your success, maybe as investors?
Okay, so I have a minute and a half here. So it's a proof of stake network. Has anyone heard of EigenLayer? So EigenLayer is, we're friends with them. EigenLayer is restaking. So you can basically stake your ETH to run a node on Ethereum and restake it into Supra. Supra does plan to be kind of a credibly neutral third-party Oracle, though, so we will probably replicate that model across multiple ecosystems. What's interesting about that is we can actually get node diversity, not just Ethereum nodes. We can get nodes from other EVM chains as well, and I think that's really healthy in general. You asked about our token. We have actually just like 2 days ago finished a raise, but stay in touch, get on our whitelist. We will be doing more of these types of things. We actually have been very conservative with our token. I should mention that Supra has been running a gamified learn and earn program. We're going to relaunch that in a couple weeks. The first beta, we launched it, and within 6 days, we had 230,000 signups. We were expecting 50,000 in 6 months, so we had to rework the token economics for that. We're going to get over 1 million signups soon, and then we're going to go to market fully. So it's around the corner. This is going to be an exciting year for us. Thank you for your questions. My time's up.
So much.
Thank you.